All right, everyone, this is a tutorial on how to do a form function mimic, which is a type of creative imitation that can be used with creative writing and narrative writing, or really any other type of writing. But today we'll focus on narrative. So, just so you know, this document will be included in the video so you can access all of the handouts and passages that we review. Therefore, I won't go into great detail with these documents because you have access to them on your own. So we begin. These are the 4 steps, and these are nice steps whenever your writing is a little bit dry or a little boring, or maybe you're just stuck for a new idea. So step 1 is to find a passage from a writer that you admire and pull it out because you're going to mimic it. Step 2. Then you want to look for different ways to break that passage into smaller pieces or smaller units. So, for example, the piece that I'm working with today is a paragraph from John Steinbeck that has 13 sentences. That's too big to handle in one chunk. So I'm going to break it into smaller chunks. But the sentences themselves are also too long for me to mimic. So I'm going to break each sentence into smaller chunks. This first sentence has 8 words. I am not going to break it into 8 different units. That would be way too small. But something like this might be nice. I could break this sentence into 3 units. A tall man stood in the doorway. Simple enough. I think I can mimic that without too much trouble. The following sentence says, he held a crushed Stetson hat under his arm while he combed his long, black, damp hair straight back. So if you'd like, pause now and just think of a couple different ways that you might break that into units. Or you could wait until we're done and then you might have a better handle on what we're doing here. But again, it's kind of random how you break them into units. There's not one perfect way. So step 3. So pick one of the ways that you broke it down and then commit to it. We're going to run with it. So I chose this way. A tall man stood in the doorway. So first we look at the form, because we want to mimic both form and function. So the form, there's a couple ways to look at it. There's 3 words in the first chunk, followed by 1 word, followed by 3 words, followed by a period. We can also say we have a noun phrase, a past tense verb, a prepositional phrase, followed by a period, or we can describe it as a character, and then an action, and then a place. There's other ways of describing the form, but each of these is pretty effective. Now let's look at function. The function is, what does the sentence do? What role does it serve? What does it do for the writer? What does it do for the story? And what does it do for readers or to readers? So I've described the function as this sentence quietly, though somewhat abruptly, introduces a new character into the scene, almost like a momentary freeze frame. So if we're going to imitate the function and the form of this sentence, we're going to try to accomplish as much of this as we can. So here's an example. A blurred silhouette flashed through the breezeway. So we have new content. This silhouette is not a character that existed in Steinbeck's story. We're just kind of making something up creatively, just for fun. Flashed, and that matches stood. It's a past tense verb. It also happens to have the same amount of syllables, so that's even like an extra bonus. In the doorway, through the breezeway. So now we have an imitation of a tall man stood in the doorway. A blurred silhouette flashed through the breezeway. So form-wise, yes, this is an excellent mimic. It's successful. How about function? Sort of. It does introduce a new character. It does sort of suddenly bring a new character into the scene. It doesn't really do that momentary freeze frame thing, but it's pretty good. And this character, who never existed before, now could serve as the seed of a brand new story or the start of a new scene, or maybe it's just simply a writing exercise. But this blurred silhouette flashing through the breezeway, maybe you could build a whole story around it. Kind of cool. So I want to show you another example. So I have a couple passages here that you could mess around with, and of course you can find your own. And of course you're encouraged to find your own passages from the writers that you admire and enjoy. Okay, but it helps at first to take small ones like these. So let's take this passage number 1, and I'm going to show you how I did a mimic of it. scroll down. Remember, you have access to these. So here's the passage, and I've tried to identify some of the functions in this passage. And if you want, you could pause at any point and read this. Okay. There are probably more functions, but I was working quickly, and these are some that I identified just from this little paragraph. Now, we go to the 4 steps. I took the paragraph and I broke it into pieces. And this takes a little practice because sometimes pieces are going to be too small, sometimes they'll be too big, but you get good at it over time, like anything else. So we see, I don't buy the gold eyeshadow. There's 2 units there. He doesn't eat the red cranberries. And this was just like randomly coming up with stuff that looked similar in form and also kind of served a similar function. So I'm going to leave this here for you to pause and read for as long or as little as you'd like. And then try some of this stuff out. It's really fun, but please read the reflections because there's actually kind of some interesting points in these reflections. So I'll leave it there. Have fun with this because once you get a handle on this form and function mimicry approach, it's immensely useful. And not just in my class. It's immensely useful across a range of different genres that you're going to encounter and work with. So it can actually be useful in other parts of your life as well. So unless you're going to create like brand new language or create some new grammar that doesn't exist, we are always borrowing language at some point. We're all using the same language here, and we're just putting our own spin on it. So if you're going to imitate, we kind of have to. You might as well have some fun with it. Okay, so have fun with this. Good luck, and let me know how it goes. Okay, bye.